Hello and welcome to my workshop. So today we're going to be starting a new project. This is going to be a 1947 Dodge Power Wagon, but this is going to be the crew cab. Alright, so let's get started. I'm starting off here working on the bed, and I'm trying to get the basic box shape defined. One of the most important things to do is to start off with square corners. They're just the same as if you're making like a wooden box or any other kind. Not all the pieces on the side are going to be the same dimension as the bottom plate. So I'm going to get the floor measured out, then I'll figure out what side I want to have, the long side. So here I want to have that be the side that's facing outward, the side that measured exactly the lengths of the bed floor. The front, side, and the tailgate will measure out the bed width minus the thickness of the styrene material on both sides. So the bed tapers up a bit at the sides where the section has the rolled ends. I want to make this one piece so it'll be a little bit stronger than if I just glue one on later. What I'm using here is clear PVC cleaner, and it acts as the solvent. The PVC cleaner has the same active ingredients as styrene solvent, and it actually melts the styrene. Once you put the pieces back together, they can harden back up and become almost one piece again. The solvent glue bond is really where the strength comes from. So now it's just a matter of getting all the rest of the pieces lined up. Making sure that everything is the right dimensions, square, straight through before adding the solvent, and then using a CA glue as a backer to hold it in place. I try to draw directly on the part when I can to make sure that everything is nice and true and straight. So whenever possible, I try to cut the wheel arches out first, or any other section where it's mirrored to both sides. So it's much easier to do that first part than it is to get it all put together and then try to match it up. So to make it easier cutting the rounded sections, first score it with a razor blade before snapping it on the score line. Make cuts up to that line. And so what that'll do is it'll prevent the material from having any kind of stress cracks or breaking any pieces off when you're putting that pressure trying to get it bent around that curve. So this little tubing is what I'm putting on the side, and it's going to represent the, the rolled edge of the top of the bed. Like before, I try to use a solvent glue and get a strong bond before coming back with the CA glue to fill in the gaps and kind of act as a backer. So most of the details for this bed are on the tailgate. This starts with a piece of styrene that represents the hinge that runs along the bottom of the tailgate. So essentially what I'm going to do is start building up pieces that's going to end up representing the tailgate in the end. So this is a piece of extruded styrene that I'm just basically cutting down to get the shape I need to fill in here. Sometimes you just have to look around and find a similar shape and then modify it to whatever you need. The truck has a lot of stamped steel, which is recreated by applying material on top of the styrene. If you want to look correct, you want to place the opposite piece on the reverse side or on the inside. And so when you're looking at it from the eye, it kind of tricks your eye to make it look like it is actually contoured, even though it's just a flat piece with pieces glued to both sides. So to get the material glued in the right position, first I drew the shape on the back of the tailgate in pencil. It just makes it easier to line all the pieces up to the pencil lines, so I don't have to kind of worry about getting those measured off with a ruler, because this solvent glue does dry pretty quickly. The inside of the tailgate also has that stamped steel look. So I'm just taking another thin piece of material, cutting it down to shape, and placing it on the inside. After a little bit of light sanding and a few layers of primer and paint, it actually does give it that look of stamped steel, and that's really all you need to do. So right now I'm just drawing on the side of the wheel well where I want that fender to be attached to the body. So in the past I've made these stake pockets out of solid styrene material. I've always wanted to have a hole in the top, so this time I made a small box that went on the outside, which allowed me to cut that square hole in the top, which represents the stake pocket. Another nice thing about the way this stake pocket is made with the individual pieces is I can get the actual width to be exact, and I don't have to rely on some existing shapes of styrene I have laying around. Here I'm just forming a simple shape to be used as a vacuum mold for the wheel arches. I made this single wheel arch mold large enough to cover both sides, as well as have some material for the inner arch. Once it was done with that, I was able to cut in half, and that way I get both of the wheel arches pretty much the same. So I'm just using some tape here as a guide for cutting down the wheel arches to shape. So as before, I use CA glue as a clamp where they hold the arch in the right position, lined up to that pencil mark I made earlier. I don't need a really large piece on the inside since the bed is raised up a good bit more than what the actual truck is. But even having that small wheel arch in there really does give the right look. So there was a little lip that was left on the wheel arch on the inside, and I kind of use that as a design feature. I cut a piece that would fit up into there, and you'll give an overhang where that lip is, and just give it a little more visual interest. So these are just small lights from an axial kit. I believe it's AX80045. So what I'll do is take the clear lens, paint them red with the Tamiya paint. So one of the last things to do here is to add some scale detail with a chain that would hold up the tailgate. So I'm doing that here with necklace material. I just use a rotary tool and cut a little slot where I can insert these necklace pieces and glue them into place. So the chain is just held on with clasps. You basically take 2 pair of pliers and open them up, slip the clasps on, and then you can close them back. So I think you can see just how fiddly a stuff this is to work with. Just take your time, pay attention to the small details, and you can really get a good look in the end. The last part of this chain is the clasp, which is also comes from the necklace aisle. So I'm using my Cricut machine to cut out letters here for the tailgate. These are also stamped steel on the real truck. So after gluing them in place, I lightly sand, and the build-up paint really does give this look of a stamped steel. So the thickness is just a little bit more than what my machine can cut. It does a really good job of scoring though. You just have to take a few light passes with a razor blade and to enable the letters to pop right out. Every once in a while you'll have one damaged. The E here was damaged, so what I typically do is I'll have a second cut that I'll make along the same time I make the first one, and that gives me a chance to have some replacement pieces just in case I have something that's damaged. There's a lot more to come on this truck. I need to get the work on the crew cab next. Lots of other fun projects coming up. But until then, we'll see you in the rocks.